Bronny James.
Bronny James.
Bronny James.
Bronny James.
I said off. That's right there.
LeBron, as you take the court for your first game, how are your nerves tonight?
I got a little nerves in my stomach right now, but, once the jump ball starts up, I'll be ready to play.
On the run, this is his best part of the game, and there's his first assist, and it's a beauty. Double team. LeBron on the baseline, 2 for 2. The inspiration for the number 23, Matt Jordan's first game in the NBA. He just surpassed it.
LeBron James at the time was a 19-year-old in the NBA with all the potential in the world. He was young and just starting to figure himself out, but then his life would completely change forever when his girlfriend Savannah Brinson was pregnant. And on October 6, 2004, they gave birth to their first son, who would go by the name LeBron James Jr., or Bronny for short. From LeBron giving his son his first name, the expectations of Bronny James would already start before he even touched the basketball. In sports, it's rare that a legend of their respected sport can have a son that makes it to the league and perform at a similar or even better level. But because Bronny was the son of LeBron, he already had those expectations. At just the young age of 10, when he was just in middle school, he was already getting recruited by schools like Kentucky and Duke. Mind you, Bronny was yet to even play a game of high school basketball. LeBron said himself, "It's pretty crazy. It should be a violation. You shouldn't be recruiting 10-year-old kids." As a middle schooler, Bronny would play for some pretty solid AAU teams like the Miami City Ballers, Gulf Coast Blue Chips, and even the North Coast Blue Chips. The North Coast Blue Chips actually went on to be a pretty viral team back in 2019. They arguably had the best middle school roster of all time, featuring the likes of Bronny James, Mikey Williams, Gabe Cupps, Jazeer Jackson, and Rayvon Griff. This group of 14-year-olds not only dominated the AAU scene, but all would go on to be very talented, gifted athletes who went on to be D1. Bronny ended up playing at Sierra Canyon for his high school career and once again was playing for a great team. Bronny, Zaire Wade, Brandon Boston Jr., and even Zaire Williams. This team even had their own documentary covering their entire season. Because the team had Bronny, they had all the hype in the world, but it was warranted.
Bronny James knocks down his first career high school bucket. Here's Bronny James. Smooth in the layup. Bronny James, quarter 3, got it.
In his debut game, he would score 10 points in an almost 50-point win. Sierra Canyon won its first 7 games when they were matched up against LeBron's alma mater, St. Vincent St. Mary's. The game was nationally televised with LeBron in the building, and people were curious to see how good Bronny was.
Boston on the break. And Bronny follows it up. The 80s. Bronny the floater, and that drops in. Freshman year at 6'1", ended it at 6'4", and Bronny James has 2 more in the Navy. Here he is in the corner. Little runner from about 17 feet, and now
Another thing Bronny James has to do, and oh, that's a beautiful scoop.
across the floor, Bronny James catching fire. Boston is there for the stick back and a timeout for Sierra Canyon.
Despite Sierra Canyon being ranked number 7 in the country, this game went down to the wire, and with less than 1 minute to play, Sierra Canyon was down by 1, and Bronny knew he had to do something.
Out. Oh, the deflection and the steal by Bronny James, and the finger roll off the glass. Bronny has given Sierra Canyon the lead.
Big reason if Sierra Canyon wins this game.
As the front end of the 1-and-1, doesn't matter. That's it here in Columbus.
Sierra Canyon would win and continue to have a pretty good season. They ended up finishing the season 30-4 and even made the state championship game before it was canceled due to COVID. Bronny in his freshman year averaged about 4 points per game and about 15 minutes of action, but what people were more focused on was his athletic abilities and what he could do defensively. His sophomore season unfortunately did not go as planned. In February, he tore his meniscus and would miss the majority of the season. In his junior season, there were improvements when it came to his scoring and defensive ability. He actually played St. Vincent St. Mary's once again, but this time he was a starter and was one of the leaders on the team. Sierra Canyon finished the year with a 26-5 record, but lost to Centennial High School in the regional final. Bronny's stats drastically improved, averaging almost 9 points and 2 steals. In his final season, we saw Bronny at his best, averaging about 14 points per game, 5 rebounds, and again, almost 2 steals. He even got selected to be in the McDonald's All-American game. This would give him the chance to perform against high school basketball's best talent, and it's safe to say he delivered.
He's got a legitimate 3-point shot. Omaha Ballou feeds Bronny James, who drills it.
Wherever he is on the court, can Holloway now guard Bronny?
Oh, from NBA range, sweet stroke.
And I think that they know that, and more importantly, they're playing as though they have something to prove.
Bronny James, splash, his 3rd triple. UConn Husky.
You think he'll stay and get some tickets?
One would hope. Bronny James the steal, ahead to Collier, one more jam.
And if he could have made that three, threes count more than two.
Bronny James wants another three. Give it to it. Your stars of the college game and beyond on display here at Toyota Center, including Bronny James. Bullseye for Bronny.
While Bronny apparently had offers ever since the age of 10, he ended up narrowing his choices down to 3 schools. Those schools included Oregon, USC, and Ohio State University.
Greeny, Bronny James committed today to attend the University of Southern California in the fall. He'll play his college basketball right here.
Bronny was now one step closer to the NBA. Before the college season started, he was projected to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Everything was going in the right direction when all of a sudden...
Now to a scary incident involving the son of NBA superstar LeBron James. 18-year-old Bronny, a freshman on the USC basketball team, suffered a cardiac arrest on Monday during a workout on campus, and he had to be rushed to the hospital.
Yesterday, while practicing, Bronny James suffered a cardiac arrest. Medical staff was able to treat Bronny and take him to the hospital. He is now in stable condition and no longer in ICU.
For all we knew at the time, Bronny James's career could have been over. Hell, if the medical professionals weren't there at the time, maybe even his life. Luckily for everyone, Bronny survived and would make his return in about 5 months. USC had already started its season, but Bronny came in hoping to help the team win some games.
This season, 4 months after suffering cardiac arrest.
Could have looked opposite wing on that one.
Oh, blocked by Bronny. Ellis, Bronny free. Got it to go. Bronny James, his first college.
While he looked solid in his debut, the cracks would start to show. The difference between Bronny at USC and in high school were very different. He was more complacent, he didn't look as explosive, and his shooting wasn't exactly the best. What people fail to understand is that it was only his first season of college basketball. Traditionally, freshmen aren't supposed to have a crazy role in the offense on day 1. That is usually reserved for the 5-star recruits who are brought in to be the guy. Bronny was good, but he was going to need more time to develop as a player. However, in April, it came out that Bronny would enter the transfer portal while also entering the NBA draft process. Bronny entering the draft made no sense whatsoever. It was clear Bronny needed more time in college given the fact he didn't even play a full season and his stats just weren't that good. At this point, Bronny was barely on draft boards. In fact, the narrative became he was only on those boards because of his dad. As the draft was getting closer and closer, people would voice their concerns about Bronny.
When you look at Bronny, I always said that I don't believe Bronny is built for college. I think he will be a hell of a pro. I'm not saying that he's going to be his dad. I'm not saying that he's going to have an all-star caliber career.
Bronny James entering the NBA, putting himself to enter the NBA draft with the numbers that he has, combined with his questionable health for the moment. Inevitably, what that means is that you're doing this because you're Bronny James.
I don't have much time left, so he wants to play with his son. This is the time now.
Here's the point about Bronny James. Keyshawn, I don't believe he has the skill set to go to Pepperdine or Santa Barbara or Duquesne or wherever he might land. He doesn't have a scoring skill set where he'd go somewhere and average 20 a game next year. You say, oh, he's ready for the NBA.
If it wasn't obvious by now, Bronny was going to get drafted no matter how good he was. The main reason, well, was because of his father. LeBron on record has said before he wanted to play with his son.
Bronny is number 1 on my fucking list.
That's dope.
He's number 1 on my list. I asked him, I said, what you want to do with this? Like you want to get to the pros? What you want to do? He's like, yeah. I said, why? He said, because I want to make a name for myself.
Then the draft interviews started to come out.
Brian, what went into the decision not to talk this season or do any interviews? Was that your call or who's?
Just my team and stuff like that. Made decisions for me that would be best in that situation, current situation.
What was the thinking there? What?
I couldn't tell you.
So his agency didn't want him doing any interviews? I wonder who his agency is. Oh yeah, it's Clutch Sports. The same Clutch Sports who is owned by Rich Paul, a very close friend of LeBron. But this is also the same Rich Paul who's had a very interesting past for his work. Remember how Anthony Davis forced himself to LA? Yeah, that was the work of Rich Paul. Not to mention, he has been in loads of lawsuits and controversies over the years. Now, the draft process for a projected second-round pick is pretty simple. Go to the combine / the draft workouts you get, do all the interviews you can, and take any opportunity that is given to you, especially if you're ranked number 98 before the combine. Now granted, he entered the combine and did pretty well. Videos started to come out and it was clear he could shoot. He looked solid on both ends of the floor, and his teammates, they had nothing bad to say about him. This made him the 54th best ranked player in the draft, which coincidentally is one spot away from where the Lakers were supposed to draft. According to sources, Bronny had workouts from about 10 different NBA teams. Now that's not bad given his ranking, but this is where things get kind of weird, because Bronny only chose to go to 2 of those workouts, and those were with the Lakers and the Suns. Now the Lakers, it made sense. LeBron is on the team and obviously he wanted to play with his son. During the offseason, there became a rumor that LeBron would join the Suns on a very cheap deal to play with his son over in Phoenix to create a super team. However, this rumor was shut down by Rich Paul not too long after, so why he attended the workout, I'm not entirely sure why. Also, during this time, it came out that Bronny would not play under a 2-way contract. Now, for a second-round pick, that's a pretty normal thing to ask of a player, but not for Bronny. LeBron and his team tried to push a narrative that he didn't care if he played with his son, and if it did, it was just fate, but everyone knew this was complete bullshit. But then the draft came, and it only got worse.
Rich Paul's calling teams, don't take Bronny James. He's telling them, do not take him, okay? Saying, don't take him. You take him, he's going to Australia.
At this point, this was no longer a narrative or a conspiracy. With the work of LeBron and Rich Paul, this was going to happen by any means possible.
With the 55th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James from the University of Southern California.
How are you able just to stay calm and normal with all these cameras and attention in your face?
Because I knew that the world was going to be incredibly cruel and unfair to him.
The level of media attention that he's receiving, you would have sworn that this man was projected to be a top 10 pick.
Regardless of what you think, Bronny doesn't deserve the criticism he's getting. While it's obvious what Rich Paul was doing and how it was going to backfire in his face, I don't think this is what Bronny wanted. It is very clear that this is a LeBron James type of move. Maybe LeBron did not fire the gun, but he definitely supplied it. It sucks because Bronny seems like a good and humble kid, but at the end of the day, he was always going to get hate. People are always going to use nepotism as an excuse for why he got drafted. But let me say this, if this pans out for the Lakers, then will people still complain? I doubt he'll be an all-star or a Hall of Fame type of player, but if he could be an Alex Caruso or even a Lonzo Ball type, then for a second-round pick, is that really a bad thing? I get there's already people trying to tear him down just because of what his agent did. I mean, they brought up his contract and how it must have been the work of Rich Paul, but that same contract is one that most second-round picks have signed. People try to talk about his first summer league game and how he only had 4 points, but have you ever seen a player do well in their first summer league game? Victor Wembanyama scored 9 points of 2 of 13 shooting. Trae Young shot 23% from the field and 12% from 3 in his first 3 summer league games. Can we really judge a player off his first summer league game? No, we can't. The fact of the matter is, no matter what he does or what he says, there will be hate for Bronny James. I know Bronny is tapped in with social media, he has millions of followers and even knows Popular Street and Aiden. Not to mention, he's a 19-year-old kid. So there's a chance he sees all the hate he's getting and it gets to him. But if there's a slim chance that Bronny sees this video, I just want to say that there are people rooting for you. There are people that know the fact you went through a cardiac arrest and came back not giving up on your dream. Everyone is going to talk about what you've done or what you haven't done. But at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? Because the fact you're here and what you've been through is enough. Everything else is just more of a reason to root for you. Signed, Spex Media and the NBA community.